Hello, thanks for joining me on Bounce Around Charleston. I'm Randolph Miller. Coming up on today's show, we will be talking with Charleston's Mayor Joe Riley about September P. Clark Parkway Improvement Project and plans for the International African American Museum. And Charleston County Schools have major improvements plans for the next 5 years. Charleston County School District's Superintendent Dr. Nancy McGinley will be here to tell us what those plans are. And to close us out, we will have a special performance by Charleston's own singer and songwriter, Ann Caldwell. Now let's get right to our first guest. No more flooding in the crosstown and a better quality of life for Charlestonians. That's what Mayor Joe Riley says after the State Infrastructure Bank gave the okay for $88 million in funding for the project. The city now has enough money to ensure the project will be finished in a timely manner. Live 5 News' Deja Knight tells us why Mayor Riley says getting the money was one of the most important goals during his last term.
For the Crosstown Highway that was constructed in the 60s never had the infrastructure that it needed of drainage.
Flooding blocked roads and traffic. Mayor Riley says the Crosstown Drainage Project will solve it all. And now that it's paid for with $88 million from the State Infrastructure Bank, people can finally see the light at the end of the tunnel.
We're excited. We're really excited because it truly affects us in this neighborhood.
Cecilia Rogers is principal at Charleston Developmental Academy on Line Street. When it rains, she says it's impossible for parents to drop off or pick up their kids from school.
Parents can't get in, children can't leave, staff can't go home.
Line Street, the school's parking lot, all underwater after a heavy rain. The school even invested in a washer and dryer because some kids would walk through the floodwater to get to school.
We did whatever we had to do.
Riley says the wait is over, and thanks to the people dedicated to getting the funding for the project, life will be a lot better for those living and traveling down US 17.
Now I have with me here Charleston's Mayor Joseph P. Riley. Welcome, Mayor, to Bounce Around Charleston.
It's great to be with you on this inaugural show, and congratulations to you, Reverend Miller, for this wonderful program.
And congratulations to you on being re-elected on your 10th four-year term. Now, questions about the crosstown flooding. The bank awarded $88 million to the September Clark Improvement Project. How did the project get started?
Well, we've been working for many years in the planning. This is huge, $154 million all told. That's a lot of money for any city, for Charleston. And because it's a state and federal highway, we had the responsibility of making sure that the state and federal government helped pay their share. So we had to work and design it. It's very complicated. The water eventually will go down 140 feet. Tunnels will be bored. That's where we got the $154 million for. There'll be a tunneling system under the water, under the river, take the water up to the Ashley River, and all the water will be handled in that manner. And so we had to get city funding, state funding, federal funding, and then the infrastructure bank, which you, Reverend Miller, was so instrumental in because you came to the presentation in Columbia, which the State Infrastructure Bank said was the best presentation they had ever seen, and Reverend Miller closed out our pitch, showing the impact on his church. So it's now, we've got the money, and of course what's going on right now is the first phase, the traffic impact on the September Clark Highway will end the end of May, and from then on the work will basically be underground or at night. So it's great to have it going, and lots of people worked hard on it. Obviously, Representative Gilliard and Senator Ford, Representative Lima, Speaker House, Senator McConnell, Senator Campson. The list goes on and on.
So there are a lot of people involved in this whole project.
You bet. It takes a team.
And so what other problems will be solved by this whole situation?
Well, of course, for the motorists, not ever having to worry when it rains whether you're going to safely get to where you're going, like to the hospital or to work. Then for the people who live in the neighborhood, as we saw just a minute ago with the video and heard, kids had difficulty getting to school or coming to school wet. In fact, the principal of Mitchell Elementary School said that when you had a severe rain, attendance would drop.
Wow.
And so all that is solved. And then it's going to be more handsome too. You'll see trees are going to be planted. We've got about 90 Everclear elm trees planted in the middle, and then 125 palmetto trees along the side. So there's a chance to help make more handsome this part of our city as well. So there's also a
beautification process going on.
Exactly, that's right.
Okay, now, and I congratulate you on the Crosstown project, but let's talk about another situation here in Charleston. We heard a lot about the African American Museum. Where do we stand on that project?
Well, we're working very hard on that, on the planning and the conceptual design of it. It would be located near the aquarium at the end of Calhoun Street, and we'll be eventually be seeking private funds from the state and national level to help us. But Charleston has such an important story to tell about the history of our country and the history of African Americans, and how they came here and how they persevered and survived, and then how they helped build our nation. So we're working very hard on the planning. That will be finished sometime probably late this spring, and then we'll go about the business of raising the money to build it. But it will be a very important part of our community forever, and a place of great interest to people of African descent and people of European descent, because all of us, when we know more about our country's history, then we better understand who made our country.
And we can appreciate it more.
That's exactly right.
Okay, Mayor, and now we know that in Washington, D.C., they just finished the MLK monument. And I understand that here in Charleston, you have an MLK monument on the planning board. Where does that stand?
We do, and actually just last week I saw the Martin Luther King Monument in Washington.
You were there?
I was there, and I was also there for the groundbreaking of the National African American Museum of History and Culture, and the latter, the museum, is going to be wonderful. We will be connected with that because Charleston has obvious connections with any National Museum of African American History. And then the Martin Luther King statue will be near the African American Museum in what is now called Liberty Square.
Liberty Square,
near the aquarium. We have a wonderful committee working hard on it. We worked with the King family because you need approval for monuments of Dr. King, and so we went through a thorough process of working with them. And then the National Park Service, since it's on their property, we had to make sure that we dotted the I's and crossed the T's. So that's about finished, and then we'll start the fundraising there. But it'll be so prideful for all of us to have our own, in Charleston, South Carolina, our own monument honoring Dr. King, who did so much for everyone in our country.
Well, Mayor, you have a whole lot going on, dealing with the Crosstown flooding, the African American Museum, and now the MLK project. We want to say thank you so much for your leadership, and congratulations on being reelected for another term.
Thank you, Reverend Miller. Thanks for having me. Congratulations on Bounce Around Charleston.
Thank you. Don't go anywhere. Coming up next, we will be speaking with Charleston County School District, Dr. Nancy McGinley.